Ever felt overwhelmed by complex arguments or conflicting viewpoints? Enter Argument Deconstruction, a game-changing analytical tool rooted in rhetoric and logic. This method, popularized by thinkers like Brown and Keeley and honed by the U.S. Army, empowers you to dissect arguments, evaluate their strength, and uncover hidden assumptions. Whether you're strategizing in business or navigating everyday debates, mastering this skill is your key to sharper critical thinking and smarter decision-making. Ready to elevate your analytical game? Let's dive in. On screen is a copy of the AI-powered Strategic Thinker 3 Kindle edition, so we can copy the prompt into ChatGPT. On the right is AI-powered Strategic Thinker GPT, which is optimized for this tool and others in the book. You will want to start with the first prompt and provide context for your organization in the brackets. It may also be beneficial to upload documents related to your work. Prompt: act as the staff to your organization name. Your job is to synthesize the following context to assist in performing the 6 empathetic questions. Context is in brackets. If you understand your task, your only response is 3 dots. For this purpose, I prepared a prompt that will make up an organization, but search the web for a real-world problem we can look at in this example. The prompt states, I need a hypothetical company from any industry. Search the web and find an interesting real-world problem the industry has not been able to solve and would benefit from insights using the argument deconstruction analysis. Provide an overview of the problem and wait for the next step. I've also prepared a prompt to execute the analysis step by step without having to constantly cut and paste from the book. I'll now play the execution of these prompts, sped up, and continue to describe what was input. After the initial prompt, there are 17 additional prompts executed in this video. They are: 1, write the main point or conclusion being made and list the evidence or reasons given to support it. 2, list the component parts of the argument, issue plus reasons plus conclusion. 3, determine if the issue is a problem, premise, or thesis. If the issue is a problem. If and only if the issue is a problem, write the gap between existing and desired states. If and only if the issue is a premise, write the gap between existing and desired states. If and only if the issue is a thesis, determine and write the main point that needs to be proved or maintained if the issue is a thesis. Prompt: describe the perspective from which the argument is presented. Determine the reason behind the author's writing, whether it is to inform, persuade, or entertain, then provide an explanation. 5. What are the important questions that the author brings up that need to be answered in order to fully understand the argument? 6. List the fallacies, value conflicts, and ambiguous terms. Determine whether the argument relies on fallacious reasoning, value conflicts, or ambiguous terms that may detract from the argument's credibility. 7. Write the underlying assumptions or beliefs that the argument relies on, and evaluate their reasonableness and whether they have been adequately justified. 8. What are the alternative perspectives or points of view that might challenge the argument? Provide an evaluation of each. 9. Describe whether the evidence used to support the argument is credible, relevant, and sufficient. Provide reasons for each. 10. Describe the reliability of the evidence used in the argument, such as intuition, testimonials, research studies, appeal to authority, personal experience or observation, analogy. Also, provide an evaluation for each and if it is appropriate. 11. Write the other plausible explanations or hypothesis which might explain the evidence and conclusion. 12. Determine if any statistics used in the argument are deceptive or misleading. Describe this as a risk and explain how it is or could be deceptive or misleading. 13. Identify omitted information. Determine if any vital information is omitted from the argument. 14. Write how the evidence is open to another reasonable conclusion. 15. Provide the implications of the argument from the author's point of view. 16. Evaluate the overall strength and coherence of the argument. Consider the overall strength and coherence of the argument in light of the evidence and assumptions, as well as any counterarguments. 17. Provide a summary of all the analysis. Provide a percentage of how true or untrue the argument and highlights for consideration. Provide the next steps. Here's the summary of the analysis.
Hard argument restatement. The renewable energy sector faces a critical challenge in integrating renewable sources into existing power grids. This issue stems from the intermittent nature of renewable energy, outdated grid infrastructure, regulatory and permitting delays, and a substantial backlog of unconnected renewable energy capacity. Addressing these challenges is vital for achieving global clean energy transitions and meeting climate goals. Summary of findings. 1. Main point and evidence. The main conclusion is that integrating renewable energy into existing grids is crucial to advancing clean energy goals. Evidence includes the variable supply of renewables, outdated grid systems, regulatory delays, and the statistic of 2,500 gigawatts of unconnected capacity in the US. 2. Component parts of the argument. Issue: the integration challenge of renewable energy. Reasons: technical, regulatory, and infrastructural barriers. Conclusion: modernization and reform are essential for progress. 3. Nature of the issue. Classified as a problem with a gap between outdated grid infrastructure and the need for efficient energy management systems. 4. Perspective. The argument is presented from a technical and policy-oriented viewpoint, emphasizing systemic challenges and solutions. 5. Author's purpose. To inform readers about the barriers to renewable energy integration and the necessity of addressing these challenges. 6. Important questions. Queries focus on modernization, regulatory streamlining, and innovative solutions for grid efficiency. 7. Fallacies, value conflicts, and ambiguities. No major fallacies detected, though ambiguous terms such as outdated grid infrastructure could detract from clarity. Value conflicts exist between economic considerations and environmental goals. 8. Underlying assumptions. Assumptions include the necessity of renewable energy for climate goals, grid modernization as a solution, and regulatory efficiency as a key improvement area. These are mostly reasonable but partially justified. 9. Alternative perspectives. Perspectives include reliance on fossil fuels, the necessity of regulatory rigor, and the technological limits of renewables. Each highlights potential gaps in the argument. 10. Credibility, relevance, and sufficiency of evidence. The evidence is credible and relevant but lacks sufficient depth in detailing solutions and quantitative analyses. 11. Reliability of evidence. The argument relies on credible but general sources, with opportunities to enhance reliability through specific case studies or research citations. 12. Plausible explanations or hypotheses. Alternative explanations include financial constraints, technological limits, and political influences as primary barriers. 13. Deceptive statistics. The unconnected capacity statistic may oversimplify the problem by neglecting non-infrastructure barriers. 14. Omitted information. Missing details include cost analyses, case studies, stakeholder perspectives, and timelines for solutions. 15. Evidence open to other conclusions. The evidence could support broader conclusions that emphasize systemic reforms beyond infrastructure modernization alone. This completes the analysis for this tool.